Do you remember the first time you used a cassette player? Those were simpler times, weren't they? When the joy of music was not just about hearing, but also about the tactile experience of holding a cassette and the thrill of rewinding it with a pencil. Welcome to our journey of nostalgia, where we revisit the charm of retro gadgets. These are not just objects, they are capsules of time, signifying an era of innovation and simplicity. In this exploration, we'll delve into the world of cassette players, those magical boxes that held our favorite tunes. We'll ring up memories with rotary phones, devices that turned communication into an art. We'll tap into the rhythmic world of typewriters, the ancestors of our modern keyboards. And we'll develop an understanding of film cameras, devices that captured moments, one frame at a time. So buckle up, folks. Let's take a trip down memory lane and explore the evolution of these beloved retro gadgets. The humble cassette player, an icon of the 80s and 90s, who could forget it? This small, portable device was once the go-to for music lovers everywhere. It was a time when mixtapes were a labor of love, and the Walkman was as essential as a smartphone is today. The cassette player's roots trace back to the mid-20th century. The compact cassette was developed by Philips in the early 1960s, but it was Sony's release of the Walkman in 1979 that really kicked off the portable music revolution. Suddenly, music was no longer confined to the home or car. It could accompany you wherever you went. Its popularity soared throughout the 80s and into the 90s, with countless artists releasing their music on cassettes. But as with all technology, the cassette player had its day. The emergence of CDs and later digital music players like the iPod brought about a new era of music consumption. These devices offered a level of convenience and sound quality that the cassette player couldn't compete with, and so the cassette player quietly faded into the background. But things have a way of coming full circle. Today, in an era dominated by streaming platforms and digital downloads, the cassette player is making a surprise comeback. It's become a symbol of nostalgia and a way to physically own music in a digital age. Vintage is cool again, and the cassette player, with its tangible tapes and analog sound, offers a unique listening experience that's attracted a new generation of music lovers. From its inception, the cassette player has always been about more than just playing music. It's about the experience of listening, the tactile sensation of holding a cassette, the anticipation of waiting for a song to play. And while it's been replaced by more advanced technology, it's clear that the cassette player holds a special place in our hearts and our history. In the world of Spotify and Apple Music, the cassette player reminds us of a simpler time. Before the age of touchscreens and speed dial, there were rotary phones. These devices, with their circular dials and mechanical ringers, made communication a more tactile and deliberate process. They first made their appearance in the early 20th century, becoming a household staple for many decades. The rotary phone was a marvel of its time. Its dial mechanism, which uses pulse dialing, was an ingenious invention. To dial a number, you'd stick your finger in the corresponding hole and turn the dial all the way around. The dial would then slowly return to its original position, sending a series of electrical pulses down the line. Each pulse corresponded to a digit, and the operator or automated switchboard would then connect the call accordingly. As we moved into the digital age, touch-tone or push-button phones replaced rotary phones. These new devices used tone dialing, where each button produced a unique sound. This change made dialing faster and paved the way for services like voicemail and call waiting. Today we have smartphones that do much more than just make calls. They're essentially mini computers, allowing us to browse the internet, send emails, take pictures, and use countless apps. Despite these advancements, the charm of the rotary phone hasn't completely faded away. In fact, the rotary phone is enjoying a resurgence, particularly as a piece of vintage decor. There's something aesthetically pleasing about the design of these old phones, with their sturdy bodies and coiled cords. They're a tangible link to the past, a nod to a simpler time before digital noise began to dominate our lives. Some companies are even producing modern versions of rotary phones. These devices combine the look and feel of a vintage phone with the functionality of a modern one. They might have push buttons disguised as a rotary dial, or even a touch screen with a rotary dial interface. Despite the convenience of modern phones, there's something undeniably charming about the old rotary dial. It's a reminder of how far we've come, and how sometimes the old ways still have a place in our modern world. The clatter of keys, the ding of the carriage return, the typewriter is a classic of retro tech. Imagine a time when writing involved more than just tapping on a touchscreen or keyboard. A time when each letter typed was an event, punctuated by the satisfying click-clack of the keys and the ding of the carriage return. This was the era of the typewriter, a marvel of mechanical ingenuity and the progenitor of our modern computer keyboards. Typewriters first appeared in the late 19th century, quickly becoming an indispensable tool for businesses, writers, and anyone needing to create a written record. The design was simple yet effective. Press a key, and a lever strikes an inked ribbon, imprinting a letter onto the paper. Over time, typewriters evolved, introducing features such as shift keys, tabulators, and even electric motors for increased speed and efficiency. With the advent of the digital age, typewriters gave way to computers and laptops, which offered not only typing capabilities, but also a host of other functions. These digital successors retained the QWERTY layout of typewriter keys, a testament to the enduring influence of this mechanical ancestor. Yet in a world of touchscreens and voice recognition, the physicality and tactile feedback of a typewriter still hold a certain allure. There's a raw, unfiltered connection between thought and paper that modern devices struggle to replicate. This has led to a resurgence in the popularity of typewriters among writers and vintage enthusiasts. For these aficionados, using a typewriter isn't just about writing. It's about experiencing a piece of history, a time when the process of writing was as tangible as the words themselves. It's about the rhythm and ritual, the tactile satisfaction, and the unmistakable sound. In a way, the typewriter is a symbol of our technological journey. It reminds us of where we've come from, even as we marvel at the digital wonders of the present. It's a testament to our relentless pursuit of better ways to communicate, to express ourselves, to make our mark on the world. The typewriter, an artifact of a bygone era, still holds a special place in our hearts. Before the age of digital photography, we had the trusty film camera. This classic piece of technology, with its unmistakable click and whir, was the cornerstone of capturing memories for generations. Invented in the late 19th century, film cameras quickly became a household staple. They used light-sensitive film to capture and store images, which were then developed in a darkroom to reveal the captured moments. As the 20th century progressed, film cameras became more advanced, with features like color photography and automatic exposure becoming commonplace. However, the turn of the 21st century brought a seismic shift in the world of photography, the arrival of digital cameras. These new-age devices traded film for digital sensors and memory cards, allowing for immediate image viewing and endless shots without the need to change film rolls. But the evolution didn't stop there. With the advent of the smartphone, cameras became pocket-sized, and photography became an everyday activity. These devices brought high-resolution photography to the masses, along with a slew of editing and sharing options. Yet, despite the convenience of digital photography, the humble film camera has seen a resurgence in recent years. Many photographers, both amateur and professional, are returning to film for its unique aesthetic. The grainy texture, rich colors, and the anticipation of waiting for the film to develop are just a few of the reasons why film photography is being hailed as an art form in its own right. It's not just about nostalgia either. Using a film camera demands a more thoughtful approach to photography. Each shot needs to be carefully considered, as each roll of film has a finite number of exposures. This limitation often results in more meaningful and carefully composed images, a stark contrast to the endless, often thoughtless snapping enabled by digital cameras and smartphones. The film camera, a relic of the past, continues to capture our imaginations in the digital age. Its tangible process and distinct aesthetic serve as a reminder of the origins of photography, keeping the art of film alive amidst the pixels and megabytes of the digital world. From cassette players to film cameras, these retro gadgets have truly stood the test of time. They've evolved, adapted, and yet, in many ways, remain true to their original charm. We've journeyed through the history of these timeless classics, witnessing how cassette players went from being a music lover's companion to becoming a symbol of vintage cool. We've seen the transformation of rotary phones into modern smartphones, maintaining their iconic dial while embracing digital technology. We've explored the shift from mechanical typewriters to digital word processors, and yet the unmistakable clack of typewriter keys still resonates with us. And let's not forget the evolution of film cameras, which have blossomed into the digital cameras we use today, capturing memories in the blink of an eye. These retro gadgets, with their nostalgic appeal, have made a significant resurgence, reminding us of the beauty in simplicity and the charm of the past. So next time you pick up your smartphone, spare a thought for the retro gadgets that paved the way. Until next time, keep embracing the vintage charm.